was noticeably colder last night. Ended up waking up and having to put the rest of my layers on. And I don't know what the cows are up to, but I'm pretty much assuming anything that is making that much noise has to be mating. My stove is still occasionally doing the thing where when I connect it, sometimes it's not feeding any gas. So far, every time I disconnect it and blow into it like an old NES cartridge, it seems to get going. So I should finish up the alt in, I think, about 4 miles here. And then within another 6 or so, it looks like I access Klondike. Might be another mile or 2 in there, hiking into Klondike itself, where I get my resupply package. I also need to charge I just polished off my 20K battery last night, so I'm on the 10K. I have another big section after this before I get to Safford, so I'm going to have to charge completely. Now, if you're wondering how I could possibly run through both of these in, 5 or 6 days, basically I had several days on this stretch that were siestas, and I sit there and watch TV and things during the breaks. I'm usually quite reluctant to run myself completely out of water, to the point where I will even limit my coffee intake just so I have some water for the next couple of miles. I figure I'm pretty safe here since I've got the solar well just down there. It wasn't running last night. I could have got it out of the troughs and it would have been, cow drool, cow stank, which this water has cow stank. It was from one of the earlier fill-ups. However, I tend to get a little picky when I have options. So I'm going to wait for the sun to get up a little more, make sure it hits the solar panels, and see if I can't get some clear water. So fun thing, if you remember that solar well yesterday, there was a ladder lying on the ground next to those big green tanks. Well, before I found the spigot valve, I ended up using the ladder to climb those tanks to see if I could get water out of it. Couldn't, but turns out that thing was shedding fiberglass. I got to camp last night and my hands felt like they had little pieces of cactus in it. My legs too, and I realized that, yeah, it was fiberglass that shed off of that when I used it. So once I get into Klondike, hopefully later today, this next section is a big long haul into Safford. It is an additional 16 miles over the actual town mileage listed. So an extra day. We packed a pretty hearty box since there were notes about people having run out of food and having to bail off. Even saw a Facebook post from somebody up ahead who said they ran out of food in that section. I haven't been quite eating all my food, so I've got a little bit of a buffer with me. I'll probably carry everything. Biggest thing's just going to be power. There is apparently a lodge there, and there are apparently RV hookups. I'd been kind of thinking, oh, I'll get an RV hookup and just charge when I spend the night there. Turns out there's only 3 of them, and it's now Friday, meaning all of that's likely to be booked. So I may just be spending a long night at the ranger station and then heading either to the BLM campground or just off into the woods, however far that is. Another fun thing, apparently I get to do 0.8 the wrong direction in order to dump trash once I'm done triaging the things out of that box. And as I hoped, solar well's kicked in. So obviously the panel is connected to the solar well. I'm guessing that's an old gasoline pump. There's mentions in the guide from years ago about that them running gasoline pumps at some of the wells along the AZT. There is also a really faded sign back there that says something along the lines of, "We will come after you if we find you, if you do any damage to this place." I don't know how many cows were down here last night, but it was a lot. So the route says there's some shortcut old road up this. Well, I guess that matches this. So bits like this are why the bushwhacking's so bloody. Those things will just cut into you. Yeah, okay. If there was a road, I'm pretty sure I missed it. I'm now on a cow trail of sorts for cows that want to be mountain climbers. Okay, probably not the road. But, you know what they say about, you ain't having fun if you're not bleeding. I am now most certainly having fun this morning. I could see that tank from my tent this morning. I was wondering what it was. That's one way to get water pressure. So mileage-wise anyway, if I'd been able to go through Resupply, I'd be in Klondike already. Who needs weapons when you hike? I seem to be finding them all the time. And this is going to drop me back in Resupply. I just saw a vehicle parked at a car camping site back there, and that's basically first human I've seen since leaving Resupply, the road next to the college, basically. Man, I am never going to catch up to the hot gays at this rate. I am currently on a 2.8 mile spur out to Klondike. Haven't seen a single vehicle going my way, unfortunately. I was kind of hoping to hitch this.
I did actually end up getting picked up by a nice couple in a pickup truck who were AZT Trail Angels. However, they did it about a quarter of a mile from town. When I arrived at the store, they had my package. However, they did say they were full up on lodging, so my only option was to sit around and use the plug that they nicely allowed me access to inside. Snapper is another Grand Enchantment Trail hiker who I ran into a couple of days ago. She was actually there waiting for a package, which was running a little late. By the time 6 o'clock had rolled around, my batteries and phone were mostly full, though I wouldn't have objected to having maybe another hour or two next to the plug. I'd also managed to upload a couple of episodes, Snapper's box had arrived, and I'd even managed to pawn my trash off on a tourist who came by to talk to the hikers. They basically don't have trash service in Klondike, so you have to hike out 0.8 miles from town and then back in order to throw anything away. The guy who helped me out also claimed to be Andrew Skirka's nemesis back in school. It actually turned out to be very lucky the store would let me charge, because it turned out the ranger station that was my backup does not like hikers using their plugs.
Food-wise, I had a day, maybe a day and a half extra of food, and I kept that and I took the box that Jen sent. This next section is listed as the toughest, and there were notes about other people running out of food. So of all my worries, shouldn't have to worry about running out of food. I may kill my shoulders trying to carry this section. I've got 2.5 liters on my back plus 6-7 days of food. Something like 2.8 miles back to trail. Really hoping somebody comes by and gives me a ride. So right now it's 6:10. If nobody gives me a ride, I'm gonna have just enough time to get to public land where I can camp before the sun goes down, probably. Interesting thing about the Klondike store, they actually had faster internet than anything south of Oracle on the AZT. I swear there's nothing lonelier than leaving civilization an hour before dark. And nothing longer than frickin' Blue Blaze miles to get back to trail. They just kind of drag because, you know, they don't count, they're sideways. In general terms, that's the mountain range I'm headed for. Note to self, ways to get cars to stop, damn near twist your ankle and hop around in pain for a minute. She said her husband wouldn't allow her to give me a ride, but she did stop. Okay, so I don't have much context, but this is the marked route, which a couple of years ago is now marked as private property, no trespassing. So, per the guide's instructions, I go up here to FR 94, go up a short ways and then cut back to public land. So I do have a public-private land layer I can look at via Gaia. Problem is, it has a note saying, oh yeah, it's not guaranteed to be 100% accurate. Now in actuality, does it matter? Is there going to be somebody patrolling out here? Probably not, but I do try and do the right thing wherever I can. Or at the very least, not push it beyond gray area. Okay, I'm on the approach to the Santa Teresa Wilderness, and it's going to be a long climb, so I decided to stop before it got too steep. Found a wash where I'm not in the low point, relatively flat. I'm going to settle in for the night. And I'm far enough off the road, nobody's going to see me here. Home sweet home.